I want to introduce this distinguished panel here and give you a quick bio on each person that's here so you have a little bit of an understanding of their background. And we're going to start with Sonia Estevez. Sonia is Senior Director of Hardware Innovation at Avery. Prior to Avery, she was Head of Product Management for Alexa Voice Services at Amazon. Prior to that, she was Senior Director of Product Marketing, Mobile Mart Partnership, and Senior Director of Product and Technology Innovations at Samsung. Chris Janko. Chris is Senior Vice President of Sales at Locator X. He is a veteran enterprise sales and SaaS leader with over 2 decades in IT and emerging technologies, leading revenue growth at Locator X. He's helping reshape how organizations track and manage physical assets in real time using IoT. He's a frequent voice in the IoT space. Larry Ford. Larry is with NASA Glenn Research Center and holds
organizations to track all their inventory so that they can know at any given time when they need to find stuff. In our world, it's really high value assets for the most part because you are using active tag, GPS, LoRaWAN, cellular, whatever it may be. But the idea is to give light and visibility to where those things are so you can capture them as quickly as you want. Or in a lot of our defense side, which is where kind of our main focus is helping organizations understand in-transit visibility. So as weapons or tools are being shipped around the country or the globe, where are they? We've all read the news, those things seem to go missing more often than we'd like, and those are our taxpayer dollars. So helping the organizations better understand where that is a key focus for us.
and knowing where our weapons are is an important
Yes.
thing.
I saw a problem in the agricultural industry here in the United States with 98% of us being consumers and only 2% being producers or farming. And thinking to myself, how can we empower our small farmers, our family farms, keep them from selling off and shutting down shop? And I think that when we know better, we grow better. And so that speaks to IoT devices, which is collecting that data to put it to good use. And we have this really great convergence of tools after the data is collected with blockchain and artificial intelligence to really put that information to work and make better decisions, reduce overheads, reduce risk, increase output, and provide better products to the consumers, be able to tell the product story. Something that struck me when you were speaking about the smart labels was I'm working with some of my vineyard partners where I have weather stations installed that are logging the data in real time. And at the end of the season, we're experimenting with compiling a vintage report that tells the story of that year, everything those grapes were exposed to, and we're looking at like a QR code or a smart.
You better talk to me.
And I got frustrated because when I went to Total Wine or some of the grocery stores and I'm looking for a good bottle of wine, it's just very generic. It doesn't tell me anything about the product. And so I think that there too is a lack of information that's conveyed to consumers, and that's one of the additional ways that IoT can kind of fill these gaps and provide value across the board.
And IoT certainly is kind of the impetus towards AI. It's just you need a lot of data. So I would expect farmers, vineyard owners, eventually over time they're going to have a lot of data and they're going to be able to make even better decisions.
And even monetize that data too.
And monetize that data, yeah. And I think one of the things I've learned, and probably good for the younger folks here, farming is a business. It's absolutely a business. Yeah. These people that run farms know, they have a P&L, they have a balance sheet, they have cash flow to worry about, and it's not easy. It's challenging, and you can't depend on the weather. And so the more information they have about how their product is impacted by the weather, the more likely they're going to be able to succeed, especially as small farmers.
Well, and one area that I think that trifecta of technology can really make a difference, there's $140 billion insurance yearly expenditure here in the United States, and we, the taxpayer, are one of the largest subsidizers of these risk-off programs that are given to our farmers. Like with IoT, blockchain, and AI, we can improve claims settlements, we can reduce risk, we can verify damage that's done and reduce fraud and waste in the marketplace. And that's a benefit to everyone here in this room and everyone across the country. So I'm really excited about the near future and putting these pieces of technology to work.
It's exciting work. Thank you. So Larry, tell us more about what you're doing now, and I know you've done some interesting things in the past as well.
Yeah. So right now, at least, the effort at NASA that I oversee is deploying a cellular network on the lunar surface. or at least understanding how we would be able to do that and enable Artemis missions for command control telemetry applications. So a 3GPP, third generation partnership project, is the standards body that defines the releases of 4G LTE, 5G, 6G, and forward. And we're looking at the mission requirements on the lunar surface and actually the radio propagation aspects of the regolith and just the short horizon. That's the area where I tend to kind of nerd out on it. That's my favorite thing is radio wave propagation. But yeah, so to enable the command control and then the telemetry aspects of all things mission and all surface assets. Previous to NASA, I've been back to NASA for about 8 months now, but I was in engineering leadership positions for a couple different companies. And it was primarily heavy industry, radio remote control of locomotives, cranes, and then in the smart grid sector, which was all about uptime, all about heavy capital investments, keeping up. And then even in some regards was the supply chains that would enable the replacement of equipment. So modeling that and pulling that into your big data set. So you're actually modeling your entire business process from end to end and collecting enough data to minimize downtimes.
Does anyone have a sense of, and maybe in your industry or in your experience, how long it takes for them to go from collecting data through IoT mechanisms to having useful data whereby they can proactively know when the problems are going to occur or proactively have enough information to make better decisions about things?
Well, I'll speak on my side. I think actually the biggest issue is paralysis by analysis. They're not making educated decisions. They're collecting a ton of data. They don't know what to do with it. That's where the great consultants of the world are coming in and trying to help that. But until we enable the end user to really have a simplistic way to take that data and use it, think of warehouse optimization. Every day we're putting things into a warehouse, moving them around for who knows why sometimes. Well, if you can collect all that movement data and understand where's the best place to put this asset so that we're not continuing using a forklift, which has emissions issues. There's a trickle-down effect that really causes. But the long answer to your question is I really believe that paralysis right now is going on with most end users. They don't know what to do with the data.
Sounds like in some instances it's not that long of a journey from having the data to actually making good decisions.
No, it's got to train it, right? And that's where I think AI is going to come into place. Can we take best practices from other organizations, kind of back to the Ohio speak, when you have a mixed bag of use cases in different organizations, how do you borrow best of breed information? Just because you're an aerospace company doesn't mean you have to do it a certain way. You can do it the same way a farmer does it. Supply chain and all of that, they work very similar with nuances. So yeah, I think we're at a precipice right now where it's taking that data and making actionable insights, not just staring at it going, oh great,
Right,
now I have data.
It's a lot of data to look at.
If I could, there's an issue too, like you could have 100 farmers growing, say, corn, but each farm is collecting data in different types of ways, in different formats, and different standards, and different times. And if you were to take a system and say, okay, well, I'm going to work with a farmer to design a system that can take in their information as it comes in and then provide insights, but then you take it to the next farm and it just breaks down because there's a lack of consistency between data collection. So I think standards are really important as this industry evolves and as the manufacturers are looking at building device platforms and things like that. Getting to a point where we have edge computing, where each farm has their own sovereign AI system that can take that data in, provide results, and then maybe through blockchain, data sharing and opt-in anonymized data so you can get regional insights you wouldn't be able to otherwise glean.
Yeah, and I can just add, so one of the things that we do is we actually try to scale our solutions. So our solutions in Avery Dennison enables the platform as well as the hardware. We have a plethora of items that then, depending on the industry, we can help them guide, which is the basic equipment that you need. So we do a lot of pilots and they quickly see the value. And literally I was in a meeting a couple of days ago where they're saying, I know we need it, help us figure it out. I'm like, okay, let's just do it. We have the hardware exists, the labels exist, so it's not that difficult. It's a matter of like, okay, let's just do it. Let's just do a pilot. There's a lot of us open to do pilots. And once that they see that pilot, they see the data and it's voila. I mean, there's so many resources nowadays that I think we see it in, we focus on all industry, but retail, logistics, apparel, food specifically. We actually tag where the food comes from. We also make sure that there's labels that register temperature in the trucks. And you probably do all this part, I don't. And then, you know, it gets to the distributor center. You know, if the temperature changed on the way, we know it's no longer a good. So we stop the item right there, and then instead of going all the way to the grocery store to drop it and throw it in the trash can. So it makes the whole system efficient. So I think we're there. It's a matter of saying, okay, find me a partner to go ahead and do it.
Yeah.
I'll layer one thing in there. I think the interesting part is everyone's focused on digital twins, right? Creating a full 360, but they seem to miss the physical asset part. It's all about capturing data at Oracle or SAP or Workday or ADP, whatever it may be. That's their digital twin because they have that process flow that's easy to capture. What about the rest of the business that's disconnected? That's where IoT comes into play, and so where I think that will also lead is if you can get the heads of IT to see the value in the digital twin expansion, now you have a stronger business case. It's one of the hardest parts, at least of my job. ROI is a tricky thing in this space, in the IoT, so getting funding for it outside of a pilot, which is easy for the most part because it's low cost and it's easy, no harm, no foul. It's the expansion model, which is, how do I justify paying for this? And that's where we ran into a lot of headaches, and a lot of our buyers struggle with, well, show me how to get better ROI.
That's where I was going to go, is the ROI aspect is very important, right? And I think it's where a lot of companies, especially medium to smaller size companies, get tripped up. Two important roles in the enablement of IoT and therefore AI and ML for different industries is I think I cannot overemphasize enough the system engineering aspects of modeling your entire business process end to end, and the data science role, right? I think an investment in, you know, fresh outs from college right now in data science are making, it's a big investment. But that feeds directly into the ROI. If that's very clear, if you're able to model your business process from end to end and show when that return arrives and the magnitude of it, it makes that decision very easy to hire a data scientist.
Yeah, you can start to see the benefits. So I think what you guys are talking about, though, are primarily mid-sized manufacturers, large organizations, large manufacturers. What about the little manufacturer? What about the farm? Are they going to be investing in a digital twin? How do they get to the same place or to somewhere similar?
Yeah, something that I've been exploring with the two dozen or so partner farms that I have is discussions around targeting co-ops. I mean, the co-ops already have distribution channels in place for seed, for fertilizer, for equipment, and they usually already have contracts in place to buy back the crops or help at least find a buyer for the expected yield. And so it's kind of a one-to-many channel where you already have existing legacy infrastructure that you can go in and work with them to help overhaul. And it's a great point to collaborate. You know, that's where I think a lot of this comes in, is data sharing and gleaning insights, breaking down silos, and allowing the benefits from a bigger picture to be realized.
So I have at my desk at home right now a handful of development boards from different manufacturers, and the ease of which you can get data into the cloud, especially for smaller kind of applications, and the willingness of some of those companies, the developers, the distributors of those devices, to help you set up a pilot for small applications is orders of magnitude better than what it was 5 or 10 years ago. And the ease at which you can bring these devices up. I'm a kind of a hardware RF guy, and I do this at home with your Python interfaces and that type of stuff. So it's, Bob, I'm sure your company does this on a regular basis, but it's pretty, there's a lot of enablement, is what I'm trying to say, through the device manufacturers and distribution.
And if I can add something real quick, so I think it's a matter not if, but when. Because Walmart right now, if you're a small company, no matter what size, if you want to provide services or products to Walmart, you have to be part of this IoT ecosystem. You have to have RFID labels. So then I think that's where smaller companies perhaps can help other smaller companies to come up with like how to do that fast. Because if you don't jump into this, you're not going to be able to supply to Walmart. So I think that's something that is now real, that we need to, again, it's not if, it's how.
Yeah.
And I'd argue in a small business with If they don't adapt or adopt, they're going to be passed up.
Right.
They need it more than the large companies. Unfortunately, we can use large organizations, they can throw resources at it. They can throw bodies. They're actually some of the slower to adopt some of these things because they have the people. And right now, it is not appropriate to lay people off to use technology to be more advantageous, right or wrong. It doesn't really matter the opinion, that's just the way it is. Small businesses need tools that can optimize the way they run their business. So even if they don't have aspirations to grow large, it's going to optimize them, it's going to make them more attractive as an employer as well. So I think the SME space should be adopting this at hyperspeed. To your point, the cost is very, very effective now. Again, when you go to a big company, you're talking millions of investments, and I know it makes a difference on their P&L from what they have to spend, but you could be a small business and for 5, 10 grand, outfit your entire organization with some sort of tool to give you visibility around your processes.
That's a very low bar to cross, 5 to 10. So that's good. So in some organizations, some manufacturers, the data needs to be highly secured. We've had customers who want an on-prem solution, meaning that almost all the data just stays on the premise, which you can do now with modern technology with amount of speed and processing power. But there still needs to be a link back up for, especially if you're a large organization and you need to be able to collect information across your different organizations. I think that's where things like blockchain come into place, and cybersecurity. Does anyone want to elaborate on that?
I mean, I think what we see is it's actually reverting back. There's a lot more on-prem than there used to be, ironically enough. I think there's not just a fear of the cloud, it's just the management of the cloud, it's the not understanding what's going on. But I think having a hybrid model of being able to, not only as a supplier of the services, we have to be flexible to support our customers. But yes, security, obviously working in the defense sector is the utmost importance in ensuring that the tags don't really house any data. Right? The data actually resides in the cloud server that provides the information, so the tags are irrelevant from a security perspective. If you break a tag, there's no concerns there. But yeah, it's hyper critical. I think education is the other part. There's a lot that just believe, you have to go through this structure, you have to go through that. You have to understand and peel back the layers of why on-prem, what is the reasoning behind it? Is there, there's gov clouds now, there's all kinds of security factors. We have a private, cloud. So we see it every day. It's still kind of evolving, but I've seen the on-prem shift back, which is interesting.
Yeah, I think it's both why on-prem and why on-prem and why do you need to send the data to the cloud? Go ahead, Larry.
I think the Amazons, the Microsofts of the world have become sensitive to this, though, and have a number of options that will ease you into the cloud when you are comfortable. Or in Europe, for example, they have server bases that are country and not EU specific. So there are ways to work through that. I think it's just having the patience to find what the right solution is.
And it's challenging for a small business here in the United States that's getting into this space to start out with, cheap American-made sensors. China has led the way in manufacturing in terms of sensor development and industrialization for the past 20 years or so. America is definitely having a comeback, and this is why this event is happening here right now. We're addressing a need for domestic production, and there's a lot of concern. Like, I'm not happy to admit, but I have bought Chinese sensors. I have experimented and tinkered and done prototypes with foreign devices, and there's always that concern in the back of your mind of what could be embedded in the silicone, and do I really own the data that is being collected, or is there something out there that I'm not aware of? And so I think there's a real demand for this domestic production, and I believe that Cleveland and the United States can rise to meet it.
Right, through hopefully IoT, automation, AI, those things can happen here in the United States. Anything else anyone else would like to comment on to close things out?
Thank you for everyone's time. Mike, appreciate you putting this on. This is great.
Yeah, I just want to say, obviously there's IoT interest, and obviously a lot in the ecosystem for IoT here in the Cleveland market. Mike started this effort, I think 6 months ago, but it really started to gel around 3 months ago. So 180 registered is quite phenomenal in 3 months. So thank you, Mike, but also thank you for all these wonderful people that are here. Obviously, IoT is important to all of us, and it's great to see all of you here today participate in this discussion. So thank you.